Now, whether you're standing or seating, I just want us to shake off the past week, month, year. So just shake it off a little bit. You could bounce a little bit. Don't bounce if you have coffee in your hand. Okay. So we're going to do the Haha Yanoma meditation, ancient meditative technique. So it starts off, if you'll recall, do you guys remember the Haha Yanoma? Starts off with a belly laugh. You generate laughter, and then eventually it kind of takes over. And then Haha yawn, and after we're done laughing, we will stretch our bodies and yawn. And then we will Haha yan om. We will om after we yawn. And then we will take a deep breath in and sigh it out with a great big ah. So we'll do that twice. All right. Are you ready? No one's ever ready for the Haha Yanoma, but you'll be ready after we do it. All right, here we go. Ready? I'll turn off my thing so that I'm not laughing in your ears. If you're having trouble laughing, you could look at each other. You look ridiculous. All right, now Haha yawn, big yawn, stretch it out. Oh, feel good in your body. Okay, deep breath in. Breath in. One more time. Ready? Deep breath in. Deep breath in. Stretch it out with a yawn. Deep breath in like you're drinking cool water. Oh. Deep breath in. So, once upon a time, there was and is a lush and beautiful land. But it had become a wasteland. The springs have gone dry, and as if the earth can no longer hold water, rain only brings further devastation. When there is not flooding, there is drought. When there is not storm, there is fire, and the crops are drowned, burnt, or withered. Disease runs rampant, and the peaceful realm is every day less and less kind. And the good leaders are at a loss. When the land before was lush and beautiful, the beating heart of the land was the king, from whose seat a multitude of fish and fowl and fruits and beasts emanated. He was abundance But some earthly lords had abused the graceful abundance of the land, and the king was wounded and withdrew, for he was the land. No longer able to hunt because of his wound, he spent his days fishing and became known then as the Fisher King. But the wasteland spread. Now to some brave knights there came a vision, a cup, a grail that when sipped from restores both land and drinker and brings life back. One might wonder, what is this cup? It's difficult to know because the grail in the vision was veiled. Nonetheless, many brave knights went forth, as knights do, to reveal the grail, finding all sorts of knightly adventures on the heroic scale. And not a one of them came anywhere close to finding the object of their quest. It was Perceval who, after failing again and again to discover the Grail, despite all his heroism, found himself at a loss. Despondent, defeated, wayward. These aren't so far from us. And so he sat to grieve by a river. It was then that by happenstance, or I should say by the happenstance that only surrender can unleash, he encountered a humble fisherman in a little boat who invites him to his home. His home, it turns out, was a castle. Now, it's odd that a fisherman would have a castle. But as Perceval witnesses the wonders that filled the castle, he came to understand that he was in a special place, and this was, in fact, a special person. Indeed, it was the Fisher King, the very heart, the wounded heart of the land. Of course, he's sick, nearly immobile due to this wound high up on his leg that keeps him weak and ill. Well, the Fisher King is nonetheless graceful and feeds Perceval and shows him all kinds of interesting objects of power. And right in the midst of all these magical pieces, Perceval sees it, the Grail. But yearn as he would, he cannot imagine how he might win it. For truly, the Grail is not to be won, but it can be lost. And he was so close. But his defeat, his failure to understand how to reveal the Grail is all the more tragic for how close he was, and he returns home worse than he was, sadder than he was, feeling like a failure. But on the way home, he encounters his cousin, a little girl. And as young people often do, she knew the truth. She chastised him for failing to perceive the question that would render the Grail. Not some daring do, but a question. Do you know what the question was? It's actually so simple. The little girl tells us that the question is, what's the matter? What's the matter? It's a question that has some willingness to it. You know, when you ask, what's the matter, you are asking also, implicitly, how can I help? And so, every time after you leave here today that you see this bird, this is a fisher king. They'll probably, kingfisher, sorry. It's a kingfisher. You see them mostly around bodies of water, I think. And if you ever see the kingfisher, or the fisher king, I suppose, if you saw the fisher king himself, it might be even more spectacular. But you could think of them as the same, right? And you could let this little bird remind you to ask the question, what's the matter? How can I help? And the thing is, that's the end of this story. That's where this telling of the Fisher King ends. He just learns the question that would have unlocked the Grail. He doesn't return and actually win the Grail in this telling. We don't see the land healed in this story, nor the king. But it's not the end of the tale, for the story now is no longer theirs. It's ours. That means the question is ours too. What's the matter? How can I help? All right, so if you remember from a few weeks ago when we also were talking about the Grail Quest and Perceval, and some of the setup questions that paved the way to approach the what's the matter question. Is my perceptive heart open? Am I in a state of reverence? And how can I be responsible while I am here? And then once we're oriented by those questions, we may ask more fruitfully, what's the matter? How can I help? So today we're going to help by blessing each other. We will use the elements of water and soil. These are from our water communion, or at least infused with our water communion, and from our soil communion back in the fall. And so here we have light present in our fire, air is present in our breath, we have water, we have soil. These are the elements from which life on earth emerges. And it's worth wondering if there is even a distinction between earth and life. So we've done our water communion, which is a declaration of the character that we are bringing to this place. And we've planted our dreams in the soil during our soil communion. And I wonder if you remember the secret or the dream that you planted. I guess this year we said it didn't have to be a secret. You could talk about it. But do you remember the dream that you planted in the soil? Give it a little thought. Today we will use both of those elements. And symbolically what that means is that this is character combined with dreams. This is experience combined with yearning. It's where we've been and where we're growing. And these are not just isolated elements, but in fact, in many ways, they are our whole bodies. And today, you will be taking all of that and blessing each other, which puts you in the role of a priest, which is actually in keeping with our Unitarian Universalist tradition, which insists on the priesthood, the prophethood of all believers. And what do we believe in? We believe in love. So all believers are charged to be priestly and prophetic. And today, you get to step into that role for one another. Plus, I'm so tired. I'm just done. I don't want to be it anymore. I'm joking. So I used to be super freaked out, by the way, by this when people ask me to give a blessing, which, they do ask ministers to do from time to time, much to my dismay. And to me, a blessing had a sense to it that it was conveying some kind of power or effect that's close to magic. And I was like, what power do I have? I have no power. I don't particularly even have a lot of wisdom. But the power, it turns out, is in the roll, in the stole. And the roll is just a medium, a conduit of power that already exists. So in the same way, this morning, you do not need to worry about whether you're a wizard or not, whether you're a high priest or priestess. You don't need to worry about your own authority. Your role will be your medium, and your role is that of priestly blessing giver. Your role is, in fact, your very composition. You are the earth. You are the earth. You are the earth, and when you speak, you are the earth speaking. So what we're going to do is form lines against the wall. Not right now, but when I say go. You'll form lines against the wall, come down over here. And then actually, could I get Kevin and Laura to help me demonstrate this? So let's be, yeah, sure. So in this role play, Laura is the priestly function, and you are the receiver. Now the line's going back this way. And so you hold your hands out like Kevin is doing in sort of a prayer but opened up. And then the priestly person will take a little pinch, not a lot, and put it in one palm. And then, one palm, there you go. You're doing great. The earth is not, So, and then a little bit of water, dab of water, put it in the other palm, and then close his palms together. And you will say, can we get the next slide, please?
With an open heart, reverence, and responsibility, receive the blessings of the earth, rejoice in their flow.
And that's that. And then you can go sit down, and Kevin can come around here, and you will do the very same thing for the next person in line. So many of our communion ceremonies are declarations, what we bring, what we're yearning for, we pronounce it. This one is not a declaration. It is a pure blessing that you are doing for one another. So rather than a promise or a declaration, we will let this ceremony be as it is, a beautiful blessing. Receive it, believe it, become it. Let the blessing of the earth wash over you and resonate in your very cells. You are the earth, and when you speak, you are the earth speaking. So let us take a quick breath together, or a long breath together.